What is that?
Josh!
Who's that tiny female?
I'm coming for you!
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Hell in a Handbasket. And have you seen the Odyssey yet? I have not. But yeah, that's kind of the theme today of the show. It's been a big week in the world of geopolitics as well as entertainment. So I figured I'd mix the two together, and I came up with what I came up with. So, have not seen the Odyssey yet. Um, from what I understand, it's getting wicked reviews. And I mean, I think that all of I guess there was a lot of chatter online about how woke it is and how you shouldn't have a black actress playing Helena Troy, and you shouldn't have the little fella, what's his name? Elliot Page, Ellen Page. Um, you can't have her as a gladiator warrior because she's too small and she's not a man and blah blah blah. Um, if that's the stuff that bothers you, then perhaps it's not the movie for you. Um, I just go back to, if you look at history. Well, Shakespeare, for example, during Shakespeare's time, all of the actors were men, even the female parts. And at the end of the day, it's theater, right? So, you just cast whoever you cast in that particular role and just, forget about whether they're black or, whatever, and just try to enjoy their performance. Now, I personally have not seen the movie yet, though, like I said, I hear it's good. But I'm just not a movie guy anymore, I haven't been to a movie in almost 10 years. And I kind of gave up on Hollywood a long time ago. So, not my thing, but hey, like I said, it's gotten great reviews, so check it out. It looks like it's had a big opening on Friday night. And yeah, I guess we'll see what it does. But anyway, that was just my little intro for that. Hope everybody is doing well on this fine Sunday. My wife, and her brother, this time of year, every summer, my wife, her brother, they take our kids and his kids, and the six of them all go off camping for a few days. So, what that means for me, a lot of weed, ton of weed, ton of weed. So I plan on sitting back on my ass or in my hammock for the next 3 days and just chilling out and taking it easy. So I'll start off with this one. What's it called? Some sort of strawberry watermelon jobby, I think. Or is it lemonade? I don't know, but it's got THC in it. So let me just pour this up and we shall begin. Let me post the link for the stream in here so everybody has it. And I guess we'll get started on talking about the goings on of the last week. So where do I begin? Confused. That's been going on the last week. So a lot more of the same. Oh, there's someone looking to join.
Hey, man.
Good day, sir. How are you?
Rather pissed off.
You hear me? What are you
Yep.
pissed off about? Looks like Ted Grib is pissed off with us because we're choking her down there.
Oh,
Sorry about that, but you know, but the air quality, all the forest fires are flowing down. All the bad air that we had here is causing a problem for the folks down there. Now you got to understand though, Tegra, you're probably more affected by the wildfires going on in Minnesota than you are with the wildfires here. I could be wrong. I guess it depends on how the wind blows, but apparently a good part of northern Minnesota is on fire too. So it's not just Canada. Um, but
Well, not
that
only
stuff
that, but I
happens.
mean, if the Yanks get too noisy, we can just threaten to stop flying our bombers into their airspace.
Why they don't have water bombers themselves? I'm sure they do.
Yeah, but most of the ones they have, they buy from us.
Well, here's the thing about, you know, maybe it's this glyphosate that we've been 20 years, you know what I mean? Because this glyphosate, from what I understand, it just makes the bed or the floor of the forest and stuff like kindling because it kills all of the deciduous plants, right? Because and it'll only keep the pines and everything alive. And for the forestry folks, they don't want the deciduous stuff, the leafy shit, because it blocks out the sunlight and prevents growth of the stuff that they're actually harvesting. So maybe we should start there. Maybe we should look at not doing that because it seems to me like it's just literally it's a fire waiting to happen. You know what I mean? So I never understood that.
Well, we don't spray our forest with glyphosate.
Sure, we do. No, we do in Ontario and out west, out in BC, they do as well. Oh yeah, no, we've been doing it for decades. No
You look
question
at
about it.
it. We do in certain areas, but only in areas where there's a lot of excuse me. There's a lot of current oh shoot when there's a lot of harvesting going on in that area. Most of our
Yeah, yeah.
forests are not
But
harvested.
but they're still spraying it, right? Regardless if they're
No,
forestry, they're harvesting
they're
a lot
not
of it.
spraying the entire forest. You know me how much forest we
Oh, I
got.
I know what they do, Wayne. I used to work in forestry. I was a lumberjack years ago, and what they
Yeah,
do is basically when they replant everything, right? That's when they start spraying that whole area because they want to kill all the leafy vegetables, the leafy plants and the trees and stuff like that. So I think, and basically that's what they do. So they'll set out the area, they'll replant, and then they spray the hell out of it until the trees can grow to a certain height, right? We've been doing that for decades. So it's like industry practice. It's not just Canada. It's a lot of different places do it. I guess my point is like, why? Like, is it that important? Isn't it? Wouldn't it be more important to keep the forest, less dry? Because we shouldn't be having, fires like that. It's only the last few years, though, that we've been seeing the. Well, I shouldn't say that out west, forest fires are it's just a part of nature, right? And it has been forever. Like if you go back 1,000 years, they were having forest fires. It just happens in places like that. But for whatever reason, the last several years, I'll say, we've been getting these forest fires in other places of Canada, which typically don't have forest fires. For example, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, Ontario, places like that.
what do you
Historically,
mean?
they've
We get
never
lots of forest fires.
up north, yes, but never the ones the size that what we've seen the last few years. And I promise you, you never saw a forest fire in Newfoundland or Nova Scotia. Very rare. And if you did, it was arson,
Yeah,
right?
the,
Because it's too damn wet.
the planet is heating up. In some places, it's causing drying out. In other places, it's causing things to get wetter. And unless we cut, well, we really had to cut carbon emissions something like 20 or 30 years ago to make a difference. It's
Yeah.
gotten to the point now where too much of the heating is baked in and we're not going to be able to avoid it. You can basically kiss New Orleans' ass goodbye. It's going to be underwater probably within 20 years, is my guess. The
Well,
Kuwait ice sheet is breaking loose,
mhm.
and that's going to have a huge impact. But let's switch to something else because I've got a bit of a problem. I can't stick for long
Okay,
because I'm
cool.
having
What do you want
some.
to talk about?
Um, I wanted to bring up a couple of things that have happened. Did you notice that Marco Rubio came out and started blasting the International Criminal Court?
Yes.
And you know who one of the most famous prosecutors for the International Criminal Court was?
No. Who?
Our Governor General,
Which one? Dude, we
our
cycle through
current
so
Governor
many
General.
government. What's that? We cycle through so many of them. I
No, our
don't even
current
know who
Governor
it is.
General, the one who was just appointed,
Who's that? I forget her name.
Louise Arbour.
Okay. So, okay, what's the connection though? She was a prosecutor with the
The
IC.
International Criminal Court, one of the main ones.
Okay.
She covered Rwanda and Yugoslavia. Got rape committed during war added to the war crimes list. And meanwhile, you've got Marco Rubio saying, we don't like the International Criminal Court because they treat us Americans so badly. Oh, horrors. They might actually arrest one of us.
Well, here's the thing. Unless all nations join it, what's the point? And, I'd be inclined to, and furthermore, I've always wondered why do we have the ICJ as well as the ICC, right?
Okay,
Pick one.
here's a question for you.
Yep.
Because not everybody wears seatbelts, you shouldn't, right?
Sorry, what?
Because not everybody wears seatbelts, you shouldn't bother, right?
No, I'd still wear a seatbelt. Okay, what are you getting at?
Just because somebody else decides not to do it is not an excuse for yourself not to do it.
No,
You're
I
saying
agree.
just because, oh, these countries aren't joining the International Criminal Court, what use is it? Well, it's actually a hell of a lot of use because right now Netanyahu basically cannot leave Israel unless he's going to the United States.
But I guess my point is, what's the ICJ is a UN body, right?
Yeah,
And every member of the UN is beholden to the ICJ,
yeah,
whereas the ICC is an optional external body, which about 140 countries have joined and signed on to the Rome Treaty, but then you've got all these other countries, including the US, who haven't. So it's either if the countries who haven't joined it are not party to the Rome Statute, then Rubio's right. Like, why don't
no,
come
no, no,
after our
no. You
people?
don't understand. He wants to shut it down.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
Fine.
okay. Now, well, what right does he have to shut it down?
No right, because he's not a member of it.
Right. He's got no right at all. But right now, he's basically saying, we want to shut it down because we don't think it's fair to the United States.
Right.
Now, where's the evidence that it's not fair to the United States?
Well, there is no evidence, but I go
Exactly.
back
In
to
other
like
words,
if
we have a politician blowing his mouth off because he's scared that he might be the one targeted. And Rubio right now is in, how should I put it, very iffy legal territory with a bunch of the actions he's taken.
so. But
He
here's
has
the
right to
thing,
be
though.
scared. Now, don't
But
forget, the International Court of Justice, the International Criminal Court handle different things.
okay, what are they? What's the distinction? Because I've never known.
I don't know fully myself. Sorry, I had this explained to me by somebody a long time ago, and I don't think I remember it well enough to even bother trying. We'd have to actually get somebody who's an expert on it. And just skip a point ahead. Have you been paying attention to the fuel problems in Russia?
Yes.
And do you realize what sort of a situation this puts Russia in at the current time?
No.
Okay. They had about a week, which is when I last recorded a video a week ago, to fix their anti-drone problem. And the reason I said a week is because there's certain times that things have to happen during the year. You have to do your harvest at a certain time. You have to plant at a certain time. There's various times of year when more transport's needed for various reasons. And basically, they've lost a week during which they had fuel for the military, they had fuel for the internal security forces, and most of the governmental functions, but they haven't had enough fuel for people to get to work. They haven't had enough fuel to allow factories to run full time. And this is really, how should I put it, fucking up the harvest. We could see Russia having to import food, assuming they have the money, which right now they probably don't because they've been spending it all on the war. They didn't have the resources for a long war. They got into a long war, and now they're suffering.
My understanding with it, the fuel problem in Russia is it's only gasoline, right? Like they've got
No,
tons of diesel.
no,
They got
diesel
more.
too.
No, they got more diesel than they know what to do with. But the problem with gasoline, as it was explained to me by somebody, was it all goes back to the Soviet days, right? So back in the day during the Soviet times, uh, they had, obviously a planned economy, and they used to separate out various industries all throughout the Soviet Union, right? So yes, they do have some gas refiners in Russia proper, but a lot of their refinement came and still comes from places in Kazakhstan and places like that, right? So during the Soviet times, when they were all buddies and it was all under the Soviet Union banner, it was fine. But ever since the fall of the Soviet Union, Russia has constantly and consistently had fuel problems, specifically gasoline problems in the summertime when people use more gas, right? Because they're traveling, blah, 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 blah. For whatever reason, the Russians, after 30 years now, it's been 30 years now or whatever, they still haven't fixed the problem. They haven't invested in more refineries within like Russia proper.
Actually,
And
that's
so,
incorrect. They built a bunch of refineries. You check your records. They built a bunch of refineries, and Russia actually was exporting gasoline and diesel, both.
okay.
Now, one of the points you said is they have lots of diesel. That's incorrect. Tractors use diesel.
Mhm.
The farmers are complaining they cannot get fuel for the tractors.
I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, well, I tend to watch fuel issues because uh, it's it. I wrote a lot of history, and a lot of it comes down to can you actually move your troops? And if you don't have fuel, you can't move them. Um, there was a situation in World War II where the United States got in deep shit because the Japanese thought they sank an aircraft carrier and a battleship. What they actually sank was a destroyer and a fast fleet oiler. And at
Mhm.
that point, the United States only had six fast fleet oilers in their entire fleet. Three of them were at the Atlantic. One of them was at the bottom of the Pacific now, and the other two were in the Pacific.
Okay.
These are
So,
oilers fast enough to keep up to the warships and keep them fueled.
all right, cool. So
So,
now that
it
we're on the
basically,
topic,
but
go
okay.
ahead.
The point is that when you run into fuel issues, they tend to cascade. They generally
Mhm.
aren't limited to a certain spot, certain area. And I don't necessarily mean physical area. It could be a economic area. And right now, their fuel losses are so heavy that it is really, really. putting a kink in things.
How so?
And if they can't get the harvest in, for example, that's going to put Russia into a huge deficit for food.
Okay.
I don't know that they won't get it in. I just know that if they don't, it's going to cause problems. And as far as the military situation, the fuel situation there is good inside of Russia itself. They can keep the fuel flowing inside of Russia. But in the occupied territories, well, all those are in range of mid-range strike drones, and the Ukrainians are targeting fuel trucks. For that matter,
Okay.
they're also targeting water trucks because you could use a water truck to transport fuel. And this means that places like in Zaporizhia and Kherson, there are air defense units that are running out of diesel fuel to run their air defense systems.
Okay.
And if they're running out of fuel for the air defense systems, they're also running out of fuel for the tanks, the armored vehicles, and the trucks to move supplies around.
So if that's true, then wouldn't Ukraine be feeling the same pressure?
No, they're in a different situation because while the Russians are hitting gas stations, Ukraine has an internal position. If you see what I mean, Russia's got to transport stuff across this entire huge front arc of a front line from way in Russia, whereas Ukraine is transporting the stuff in Ukraine from Ukraine.
But
It
are they
cuts
still
down on their.
refined? They're not
Hmm?
refining gas in Russia or in Ukraine anymore. Sure, like that would have been blown up a long time ago if they had any.
Yeah, but it's not that hard to ship over the border because the distances are shorter. Ukraine just isn't a very big place. Russia is, but Ukraine isn't.
So they're
I
bringing
mean,
it in from where? Poland?
um, I don't know. I wasn't tracking it exactly, but it could have been Poland, could have been Romania. Both have borders with Ukraine.
Okay, well, in any event, it seems like there's fuel shortages all around the world these days because of Iran. But let's start off and talk
No, no,
about
no.
Ukraine if you
You're
want.
missing the point, though. These fuel shortages are so severe that they cannot put fuel in the air defense systems. Think about that.
Mhm.
The first thing you want is you want to have your air defense running because, well, without air defense, you've got nothing to stop the next drone from coming in. And if they don't have enough fuel for the air defense systems, they don't have enough fuel for anything.
So here's the question then. Why then is Russia still able to bomb the hell out of Kiev, for example, like they did last night and the night before, and so on and so forth? Whereas Ukraine, all they have left, it seems, is drone attacks into Russia proper, like on the Wildberries warehouse, right? So
Well,
if Russia was
that
so,
was actually a major hit.
oh
Have
yeah,
you
no,
gone through the
no doubt.
wild berries? No, no, you don't understand. Have you gone through the wild berries catalog?
No, because I don't live in Russia, but I assume it's like Amazon, right?
Well, Amazon doesn't sell military grade optics.
Okay.
Wildberries does.
No, I never said it wasn't a big hit because it's a big online retailer that Russians use, and apparently this was like their main warehouse. So yeah, it's gonna
Actually,
mess.
actually, there were two warehouses struck, if I remember correctly. One in
Yes, there was.
Tambov, but I can't remember the other was. I
Yeah,
think it started with a K, the city name, but
yeah, yeah. It was two, but their main one was the one that took the most damage, and yeah, it's gonna mess up their operation for sure. Um, but when you go back to a fuel shortage and stuff, it seems like Russia still they're still advancing on the front line. They're still hitting their targets in Kiev and Odessa. So
you call that advancing?
sure,
Look, there's a tank on a plinth in the Victoria Park in the center of London. It's the
okay,
Holy Roller. That's what its name was. It landed on Juno Beach, June 6,
okay.
1944. And basically, over the period of a year, invaded France, Belgium, the Netherlands, Germany, and Denmark.
Okay.
Now, look at what's going, how fast the Russians are moving.
Okay.
The Russians are in a
Again,
position where the North Koreans were in the Korean War. Basically, they couldn't break the lines. They kept on trying, but they couldn't break the lines.
but the Russians are breaking the lines, though. They keep advancing. They keep taking towns. So it's a war of
Yeah,
attrition.
right. They take a town here. Ukraine takes a town back the next day, a different town. It basically both sides are locked right now, and I
I
say
don't
they're
think so,
locked,
Wayne.
but they're
I,
they're
I
locked until the fuel issue really starts to kick in on some places on the front line. You've got soldiers that haven't eaten for a week or more, and all of a sudden things are going to get really iffy.
well, last week when we talked, the Russians had taken what's Krasnaya Gora. I can't. Konstantinika. Konstantinika. I can't
Yeah,
pronounce it, but
they've taken it 5 times so far.
well, they have
At
it.
least they claim they've taken it 5 times.
Well, I mean, you can go on X and see them raising the flag. There's nothing there, Wayne.
Yeah,
I'm
and
pretty
you can
sure
go
they've
on X
taken
and
it.
see Ukrainians raising a flag in Konstantinivka too. It's still in the gray zone.
No, it's not. Even the Ukrainian maps admit that Konstantinivka is gone, and Liman was captured this week as well. Again, according to the Russians, but I don't think the Russian military tends to lie. Like they're actually overly
The
confident.
Russian military doesn't tend to lie. Right. They shot down the entire Ukrainian Air Force 7 times over, and they don't lie.
Right. I think we'll just have to agree to disagree, Wayne, because what I'm seeing is the Russians are still advancing. They're still carving up the Ukrainians. Every time they do a prisoner exchange, Ukrainians will give them 1,000 troops back, or the Russians will give the Ukrainians 1,000 troops back, and the Russians get 50 back. Why is that?
Because the Russians are dying.
So why are they only getting 50 troops back and not the 1,000 that the Ukrainians are getting back?
I said the Russians are dying.
So there's nobody to collect the bodies? Is this what you're suggesting? But again, then if they were dying, then
There
why are
was
they
a
getting?
Russian position that some Ukrainians found. They hadn't known it was there. Uh, the Russian soldiers in the position had been left in the same place for about a year. We know
Okay.
that because they were skeletons.
Okay, so the Ukraine, what you're saying is the Ukrainians are piling up all sorts of Russian bodies. They're not just collecting them. They're just not
Well,
collecting
no,
them anymore.
they're collecting the bodies, but I mean, like, when they can. If the hit is in well in the gray zone or behind the lines, obviously they're not going to collect it.
So then why is there so many more Ukrainian bodies if they're winning?
Is there?
Hell yeah. If you look at the exchanges so
No, no,
far,
yeah, yeah, and then look at the pattern over the last 4 years. For a chunk of that time, Russia was advancing. That means that any Ukrainians who fell ended up under Russian in Russian controlled land.
hmm
Okay, the Ukrainians weren't advancing, so they weren't getting Russian bodies
okay.
unless the Russian was
So
actually all the way into their defensive position when they killed them.
so then that doesn't that prove the point that the Russians are winning and they are advancing? You just said that they weren't, but wouldn't
No,
that
no,
be
no. What I
countered
said
what you just
was
said?
you didn't listen to what I said. I said over the last 4 years, most of the time Russia has been advancing,
Okay.
and they have been. Right now, they aren't. Right now, it's about parity.
But just this week they
And
did a prisoner exchange, and the Russians gave them 1,000 bodies back, and the
yeah,
Ukrainians
but
gave.
as I said, Russia for the last 4 years has mostly been advancing. How many bodies did they pick up in Bakhmut? How many did they pick up in Avdiivka, Severodonetsk, Lysychansk? They picked up a lot of bodies, man. This is not surprising.
The Russians did of Ukrainian
Yeah,
bodies,
because
not the other
during
way
that
around.
period, they had a 3-year period during which they were advancing at not a great rate, but they were advancing. And any Ukrainians who died, well, the body was going to end up in Russian-controlled territory. So of course they're finding more bodies. It's just a natural consequence of the way the war has been playing out.
Okay. I'll buy your argument if you then buy the rationale that by what you just said, right? That would indicate that Russia keeps advancing if they're the ones collecting all the bodies, right? I'll buy your argument,
Well, they
but
had
you
been
have to
advancing.
admit, and they still are, right? Just this past
No,
week,
they
like I
aren't.
said,
That's the point, though. They aren't advancing anymore.
they captured Lima this week,
According to the ISW, Ukraine gained somewhat more land than Russia did last month.
but
If they're advancing ass backwards.
well, they just captured Lima, right? So that's another
Did they?
town. There's only, yeah, well, there's only what Krasnogorsk Gora left, and then Slaviansk. Once they take that, you've got all of Donbass is captured, right? So there's only two more towns, and they're
Yeah,
the
and
last I
at the
checked a
speed
few
they're
days ago.
moving to capture the entire Donbass would take them another 10 years.
I think they're only a couple kilometers outside of Krasnogorsk Gora now, as of a couple days ago. So that'll be the next. That'll be the next city that they use their cauldron on, along with Sumy, right?
They
And
try
then
to,
those.
anyways. Um, quick switch over to Iran.
Yeah, sure.
Got no idea what's going on here. Um, I do know that China actually drew down its strategic oil reserves to try and keep the price under control during the last batch. I don't know how much stuff they've got left in their reserves and whether or not they're going to be willing to do it this time.
Well, China's got a huge oil reserve.
Yeah,
Uh,
but they used a lot of it, and I don't know
sure.
how much. It's
I read just today that they started importing oil again last week. So yeah, but I mean, this goes. China is draining their strategic reserve if what you're saying is true, but so is the U.S. So is
yeah, no, no, you don't understand. China kept the price down by draining the strategic reserves.
sure.
If they are not able to do that this time, the price is going to spike.
Oh, no doubt. Right. Same with the U.S. They drain their reserve, right?
Yeah,
So they can't replenish it.
it was a point I wanted to get out there because this is going to cause long-term problems. When I say long-term, I mean over the next 5 years.
Oh yeah, I
We're
don't
going to
doubt
be
it.
dealing with the repercussions at least that long.
Yep, I think so.
Anyway,
Yeah, I
I
don't doubt it.
need to get running.
What?
Something just went funny on my computer and it won't boot up right now. And I'm getting really pissed off.
All right, sir. Well, I'll still be here doing my
Yeah,
thing. Hopefully somebody else joins. Have a good
yeah.
one.
Well, have a good day, man.
All right, cheers. Anyway, I will post the link in. Please, guys, if you want to join, hit the link and I'll let you in. I know we've got Tegrub is there. Bedawinka. Come on now, Bedawinka. Join me. Okay, so Wayne is now left, or has he left? I guess I'll remove him. Or is he just gone somewhere? I don't know. Yeah, so where do I start? We've just pounced off of Ukraine and Iran. I guess I'll go back. Yeah, you don't have to show your face. That's fine. I don't care. Um, yeah, you can join without putting your camera on. I don't care. So rock paper shooter for which one? Oh, that's just yeah. So I guess I'll start on Iran and then I'll get back to Ukraine later on. Um, yeah. So the last week has been more of the same. just a lot of additional strikes. We've now had the U.S. has bombed Iraq or Iran, sorry, 8 straight days. Iran has been retaliating, and just let me dig this up. Had a video from last night. Last night, or yesterday, I should say, Iran hit the bases in Jordan, and they did quite a bit of damage. Let's see if I have it here. Yes, I do. This was taken by one of the soldiers, I think. Well, that was useless. Let me play it again. I need a. Okay, well, that was one of the strikes going around. Hey, Tegra, how you doing? Nice shirt.
Good, good. I can barely breathe because of you Canadians, but we're good.
Listen, it's not us. It's globalists. It
Sure,
is the
sure, sure.
globalists. No, it is. It's I don't know. It's like I was saying to Wayne. I don't understand why we're getting all these other forest fires in the last several years, and it seems um, pretty odd to me, to be honest with you. Because, like I said, yeah, if it was out in northern BC somewhere or northern, Manitoba, I'd understand it because they're always prone to getting, forest fires from lightning strikes and all that other stuff. And that's just the way it is. It's kind of like the circle of life. But now that you're seeing, these forest fires happening in places like, Ontario, Northern Ontario, or Minnesota, or hell, Nova Scotia and Newfoundland. Do you know how wet Nova Scotia and Newfoundland are? They're
No, because I
pissing
don't
down
care about
rain.
Canada at all.
Oh, okay. They're pissing down rain constantly. So for something to light on fire in the woods, no, it just doesn't happen, you know. So there's something more nefarious to this whole thing than I think we understand. Is somebody lighting these fires, and if so, why? Um, I don't think it's climate change. Let's put it that way. You know,
But yeah, back to the strikes in Iran and
but
Iran's
apologies.
strikes
We
on.
need to do a better job. You're absolutely right. The problem with this shit government is they keep spending money on retarded stuff, like giving it to Ukraine. So we can't afford anything. We can't have anything nice here, and we haven't been able to have anything nice for a long time. So yeah, sorry.
Oh, it's fine. I think that is most of the West.
Yeah, yeah. If it's anything productive or anything that'll benefit the citizens or society at large, there's no money for that. But if you need weapons, yeah, there's lots of money for that. If you need, foreign aid, yeah, there's lots of money for that. But yeah, nothing for it, you and me, right? Just, we don't matter anymore. And the sooner we realize that the people in power just hate us all and they want us all dead, life makes a lot more sense, you know? So anyway, what do you want to talk about? Iran?
Oh, well, yeah,
Straight?
it seems like it is escalating, but it's hard to judge by what is being said on Twitter. So we'll have to see if Iran follows through on their threats to, target more infrastructure in the Gulf.
Well,
But
I
it
think they
seems
already did,
pretty,
didn't they?
I don't know, I haven't been watching today yet, so maybe they have.
Here's what I understand. So on Friday, Iran gave this really, it was kind of a weird, it was like a 3 day ultimatum, basically, and saying, if we don't, if we, if we don't have this sorted out within by Monday, the gloves are completely coming off. Now, according to Pepe Escobar, because I was watching something with him and Larry Johnson, and what Pepe
Oh,
Escobar said was the Pakistanis who are mediating this shit show, they met with Wang Yi in China, and basically Wang Yi said, "Yeah, we want to get this sorted out. We want, it's in our everybody's interest to have the war ending. However, um, Iran's not backing down." So, and Iran has basically said to, the Pakistanis as well as the Chinese, listen, we already gave them enough kicks at the can with this MOU, and they keep breaking it. So we're not backing down from that. And furthermore, if they keep hitting our stuff, we're going to go up the escalation ladder. And by what they meant by that, I got the impression was we're going to start targeting your ship out in Milan. The hell is that? You okay, Wayne?
right, but that, like, what you're saying is just kind of what everyone knows because of what has been said in public. I don't know that Pepe Escobar and Larry Johnson have as, good of inside information as they claim.
No, I agree, but it was curious to me. I didn't understand where the 3 days came in because they specifically said 3 days, so by Monday. So I was like, well, why? Like, what's the significance of 3 days? Why not today? Why not tomorrow? And according to Escobar, what he said was basically the Iranians have said we're gonna if we don't have something sorted out within the next 3 days, or if the Americans escalate, then we're gonna escalate. And the impression I got was we're gonna start hitting the ships out in the Sea of Oman that they haven't really gone after yet. So basically, then the U.S. Took out a desalination plant as well as a bridge. So they hit a bridge last week and knocked it out. And they also hit a desalination plant in Iran. So then Iran responded, I think it was either yesterday or Friday. They apparently hit a plant in Kuwait. So it's
Yeah.
definitely going up the escalation ladder. Now, the big escalation too is they've started firing at Jordan as well because Iran, uh, they've hit all the other bases. So the bases in Kuwait and Bahrain, they've done a number on those over the last couple of weeks. So the U.S. has moved a lot of personnel and equipment over to Jordan, where they thought that they would be more safe. And that's what apparently surprised them, that Iran was able to hit Jordan with such preciseness, which leads to the theory that they're now getting targeting information from China. So it looks like, and I could agree with that because it's a different system, right? They used to be doing GPS with their targeting, versus China has got this different system from Baidu. I think it's called Baidu. And so how it works, I'm not sure, but it seems to be that the targeting information is, uber accurate, which is why that video that I just showed, that was at the base in Jordan. So if they're getting more targeted, they're getting better targeting information, and they're threatening to go up the escalation ladder. Yeah, I think it's just a matter of time before the U.S. is not going to stop bombing. Iran's not going to stop bombing. They're going to start taking out ships, and when that happens, a lot of people are going to die. You know.
Yeah, I don't know that. Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't think that the Iranians need necessarily any extra help from China and Russia. Like they may have been getting it all along because they had some strikes on Israel, and I can't remember if that was the 12-day war, but that were really precise. So, because I had been watching that Professor Ted Postel, talk
Mhm.
about their missiles and targeting, and even he was kind of impressed with like their accuracy as far as what they hit. Which and that was only a few of the strikes because it's really hard to get information on anything that gets hit in Israel. They're very careful about that.
Sure. Well, my understanding was with the uh, how they used to target things was using GPS,
Okay.
and which is, American, right? And yes, you're right. Stuff got in, no question. But the Israelis and the Americans were also able to spoof the missiles by, putting in incorrect GPS coordinates and shit like
Hmm.
that, right? So basic, and how they do that, I have no idea. But they were basically, they see it, they detect a missile coming in, and they, did have the ability to kind of redirect it and stuff like that. Apparently, under this Chinese system, obviously they're not going to have that ability, and that's why, there's a lot of alarm now. Well, if the Chinese are now helping with targeting, we're going to lose a pretty big tactical advantage over them with respect to targeting, right? So that's all I heard. What are you, in your garage? Or is there a car driving in your house? So yeah, I mean, I think that with respect to Iran,
Mm.
the hell, Wayne, jeez, man, get on mute, Wayne. I think with respect to Iran, it's just going to keep escalating unless the U.S. backs out, which I don't see happening. Right? I think the Joe Kent basically said it best yesterday. He said, if you want to end this, hit your strike, hit your retaliation strike for the loss of the dead soldiers, and then back out of it. But I think we all agree that Trump is not going to do that. So we're kind of in a real quagmire now, right? What do? You got basically got two entities that are not going to back down from each other. So,
Yeah, it's a problem. There's the longer it goes on, the more embarrassing it is for us. And I think that the best possible thing to do is walk away. We don't need an MOU. We don't need a peace deal. Just wash our hands of it and then move forward like it never happened. The American public has the memory of a goldfish. There's plenty of
mhm.
other places we can bomb, and they'll just forget that this was such a problem.
Well, it's like Vietnam, right? You just didn't talk about it for like 10 years. For about, and I was young enough to remember this stuff, like, or old enough, I should say, for about a good solid 10 years or so after Vietnam, it really wasn't talked about. Aside from the odd movie like Apocalypse Now or whatever, and then which came out in like the early, I think 83 maybe. So that was a good 10 years after. And then you started seeing other Vietnam movies like Platoon and Hamburger Hill and stuff in the later 80s. But before that, like it was just kind of like, yeah, it's like that Homer meme where he backs he just backs into the foliage. That was basically what it was. It's like US backed out of there and then nobody ever talked about it. So yeah, do that again. I agree. Trump can claim victory. And I said this last week to Coping, Trump can claim victory and then he can just say, "Yeah, we knocked out all of their military. The Navy's at the bottom of the sea. The mountain is blown up. The nuclear dust is never going to be. It's impossible to get to now. We win. Yay, America!" And call it a day. I agree with you 100%. That would be the only way out of this. Um,
Well, did you see the rumors that now they want to go after pickaxe, whatever
Pickaxe
site? And
Mountain.
then, yeah,
Yeah.
so that seems like a pipe dream. Like, even if we nuked it, I don't know that that would do much.
No. Apparently,
And then there,
apparently, apparently, those rocks are all like, or those mountains are all rock, are like granite too, right? Like even with a nuke, it's only so far down it can go. All it's going to do is create a bunch of nuclear waste that's going to kill everybody in the region. So
well, it
probably
might
not a good
bury
idea.
it, but that's,
But
they
here's the
probably
thing.
planned for that too.
Well, here's the thing. You keep hearing about this, whatever it is, 443 kilograms of enriched uranium. You keep hearing like, oh, they've got 400 kilograms of uranium, 400 kilograms. Okay, great. That was like from years ago. Like we have zero idea how much they actually have now or where it is. Like who's to say that they couldn't have been, they've been enriching it all along, you know what I mean? Like we don't have the foggiest clue how much enriched uranium Iran has. None.
I bet Israel has a pretty good idea. They've, notoriously have, uh, spies and plants and stuff. So they probably have a pretty good idea.
Right. But I guess my point is like even that the stuff that they buried with those strikes, we don't have a clue if that was their only stockpile. I'd highly doubt it was. And we also don't have a clue, if what Trump is saying is actually true, that it can't be gotten to. I'll bet you there's all sorts of tunnels and stuff like that under these mountains. Keep in mind, the Iranians have been, building this stuff out, and they've been preparing for this for almost 50 years. So I find it hard to believe that there was only one entrance in and out of that facility. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
like I don't think the Iranians are that dumb. So we just don't know. But I think that I guess we'll have to see. But I read the story that it looks now like Saudi Arabia is going to be given the right to begin enriching uranium itself. So the U.S. is going to drop pressure on them not to do that. And if that happens, then it's just a matter of time before Iran develops a nuke, and so does Saudi, for that matter. Um, and there we go. And maybe that's the answer. You know, maybe that's the answer. You want peace in the Middle East? Give them all nukes, and you're done and dusted, right? Nobody's bothering North Korea. Oh,
Right, exactly. But even without the nuclear weapons, I saw that the, and I don't know how to pronounce it, but their only operational nuclear power plant for supposedly civilian use, that got hit. So it didn't disable it, but I mean, bombs fell in the facility. So that's a little scary
well,
in
yeah.
Iran.
Well, whoever you are, whatever side you're on, you should never target a nuclear facility, right? Like, just think
Right.
about the stupidity of that, right? So you hit a nuclear facility, and again, radiation doesn't have a border, so you're just going to end up getting everybody killed. So yeah, I think that that's definitely worrying. The fact that if they would even be targeted. Um, but I guess that's where we're at in the
Well,
world.
we haven't claimed responsibility for it, so I don't know. Like I don't know who else would have done it. I don't think Israel would have. They're a
No,
little too far away and preoccupied with Lebanon.
yeah,
But there was like satellite images and stuff that confirmed it got hit. So somebody did.
yeah, and even if it did get knocked out, the thing about Iran is, from what I understand, is they've got a lot of like the power grid and everything is very decentralized. So, and they built that by design so that if you take out one, they can easily like switch over to another one. So it wouldn't necessarily be catastrophic for that region. Now, what that means technically, I have no clue, but that's what I read somewhere. So, I don't know why taking out their energy is going to matter. Um, but definitely taking out the bridges and stuff like that is going to, impact their ability to wage the war as well as people just to get around. Like that stuff's a real piss off, when you start going after that stuff. And all you're gonna and all you've seen is Iran do the same in kind. Like they hit that bridge, that it's the only way to in and out of Bahrain. That big bridge from Saudi Arabia, I forget the name of it, but the Iranians hit that the other day. So I don't know if that's usable now. It didn't look like it was. Like it was a pretty big explosion. You know what I mean? So if the U.S. starts hitting infrastructure and dual use facilities, then Iran will do the same. And then where we're at. It's just you're going to have just a chaos in the Middle East with no end in sight, really, right? So
Right. Well, there's one country that I think that would be beneficial to them to have chaos in the area, in the region. But everyone else, I think, would just prefer peaceful coexistence and to continue making money.
yeah. So what do you think's going to happen now? Like it seems to me the plan is, and Trump literally came out and more or less said this when he said, "Oh yeah, we've got other people who are going to do that." So he was talking the other day about it's no coincidence that the prime minister of Iraq showed up to the White House. They had a little meeting. And then the next day, Trump was like, "Yeah, we've got other people who are going to do that." So I think who he meant was the Kurds. So you see now this past week, Iran has started hammering the Kurds pretty heavily, and the Kurdish stockpiles and stuff like that up in wherever the Kurds are in Iraq, I guess, what, north or southeastern Iraq. So they've started hitting the Kurds, and then the other one that presumably is going to get involved in the fight is Syria against Hezbollah and or Iran as well. I got to be honest with you, I don't see either of those scenarios actually happening, though. You know?
Yeah, I don't see it happening either. I think that he's being briefed on like numerous possibilities and scenarios, and then he just comes out and says stuff like that without really understanding the probabilities and the pros and cons, which I think he does a lot. He gets told five different things and then just spouts off on what he thinks it should be. Um,
Yeah.
but I gotta go. I have a previous, you know, commitment over on Rumble. But it's been fun talking to you. Have a great
Yeah, you too.
Sunday.
Alrighty. Cheers. Have a good one. Yeah, so basically that's where we're at with Iran now is it looks like it's going to escalate even more. I think that it's only a matter of time before Iran starts targeting the ships out in the Gulf of Oman, I should say. And it is what it is. So I think that, and then once they start hitting, U.S. destroyers or aircraft carriers or whatever out in the middle of the sea, well, what's the U.S. going to do then? They won't have anything left besides maybe dropping a nuclear weapon. So that's unfortunate. But I guess we're going to see what's going to happen in the next week or so. Andy Thomas, Internet Expert Debate started. Well, this is a better OM, Andy. This is where everybody can join. So feel free to join and have a chat. But the going back, I guess, with respect to Iran, yeah, it's just going to be more of the same, more escalation, more attacks. I don't know where the U.S. goes now because how many bases do they actually have left that are viable? It looks like the Fifth Fleet is completely destroyed, and or the Fifth Fleet base in Bahrain is completely destroyed, I should say. The Kuwait is finished. The base in Oman was wiped out. So, and now the one in Jordan looks like it took a pretty big beating as well. So, what do you do now? What are they back into Israel, and then where? So, I think with respect to the actual conflict there, looks to me like Iran has the cards and the U.S. doesn't. And this shouldn't come as a shock to anybody. I mean, the U.S. is what, 8,000 miles away or whatever from their borders. So whereas Iran, it's right in their backyard. Anytime you fight a war like that, you're going to be at a massive logistics disadvantage. So, how is the U.S. going to get supplied? All that stuff. How are they going to stage? Um, it's just a failing outcome all around. So I don't know what else to say about Iran beyond keep an eye out. I think that if this goes up the escalation ladder even more, you're going to hear a lot more about more dead bodies. I think that the Trump administration wants to get the hell out of this, but they don't know how. And they keep getting the pressure from Israel to stay in. But even with that pressure, I go back to number one. I don't think they have a clue how to get out of this because both, I think both Tegrib and I agree, the best solution in Iran is just for Trump to claim victory and back out of it. So will that happen? I have my doubts. But again, it's not like things are getting cheaper. It's not like all of these things, as Wayne was saying, it's not so much that they have an immediate impact. And yeah, they'll have an immediate impact with respect to the actual price of gas. But the longer term impacts, the ones that Wayne mentioned, this is going to impact 5 years from now. I think he's right. And the longer that the U.S. Keeps this up, and the longer the strait is kept from traffic, it's just compounding the problem. So, yeah, I think that the U.S. has to back out of there pretty soon, or else we're all going to feel the pain for a long time. Like I said, price of groceries, everything's connected to gas, right? Everything. What you eat, or what you put in your tank, so on and so forth. So that's all I'll say about Iran. And then with respect to Ukraine, I guess I'll disagree with Wayne. I don't think Russia has a diesel shortage whatsoever. They do have seems to have a gasoline shortage, but like I was trying to tell Wayne, it seems to be a seasonal thing that happens every summer in Russia, and it has been happening that way for a long time now, for years. And why they haven't fixed it, that's an excellent question. That's what I'd be asking if I was a Russian citizen right now. It's like, you guys haven't figured this shit out yet? Like, why are we always having to deal with this? The only problem now is, the issue is exacerbated even more because of the war in Iran and because of the Strait, and that it affects the flow of oil everywhere in the world to get refined. It also affects the price. So I don't know where Wayne was getting his information from, but I don't think it's as big as a problem as what Wayne is getting on, at least not on the Russian side. I can't speak to the Ukrainian side, but it doesn't seem like there's a shortage of gas and diesel in Europe yet. I don't live there, obviously, so I don't know, but I haven't heard of any sort of rationing or anything like that going on yet. So I guess we'll see. With respect to the strikes, Kiev looks like it's just been blown to bits and pieces the last several days. So Russia's starting to not so much take the gloves off, but I think they're preparing the situation on the ground. They're starting to prepare for more of an advance. So as I mentioned last week, they were approaching Sumi last week. They're even closer now. And I think it's just a matter of time before Sumi is surrounded and taken over sometime in the next month. And then you see the same thing with Kharkov. They're getting bombed. Odessa's getting bombed, as well as those two cities I mentioned, Krasnaya Gora. I'm sure I'm butchering that name, as well as Slavyansk. So those are the next two on the Russians' list. Those are the only two major towns left in Donbass, and they're the last two fortifications in Donbass. So what does that mean? I think that the Russians are blowing up warehouses. They're blowing up ammo dumps, fuel dumps, all that stuff in preparation to, advance on those towns, as well as more towards Zaporizhia and Odessa in the south, and Sumy and Kharkov in the north. Ultimately, it looks now like, frankly, what I said 3 years ago. They're going to go take it all the way to the river, and then they're going to take Odessa, link up with Transnistria, and those will be the new borders. And whatever's left in that northwestern quadrant of Ukraine, that'll be the new Ukraine. It'll be a landlocked rump state with not much going for it, frankly. There's no men there anymore. Like I fuck if I wasn't afraid. Well, I guess number one, if I wasn't married. Number two, if I was looking for a woman, yeah, I'd head to Kiev right now. If I was a young single European, non-Ukrainian, man, I'd be partying up in Kiev right now because it's all women there. Like it's hard to find a man. So you'll have your pick of the litter. Particularly if you're a European, they'd be looking to marry you to get the hell out of there and take you back to, Spain or wherever you're from. So yeah, pro tip for the Euro guys: if you're looking to get laid, Kiev sounds like a pretty good place to be right now, provided you are comfortable with potentially getting a missile dropped on your head. So you weigh the balances, is what I'm saying. Thank God I'm old and married now, because I'd probably be in Kiev if I wasn't. If I was 19 years old, like I was back then when I was living in Europe, yeah, I'd probably be in Kiev right now. So yeah, that's about all I'm gonna say about the Ukraine Russia war, because again, it's the same old grind. Uh, Ukraine seems to be targeting tankers and online retail warehouses. So these are more acts of terrorism than they are anything else, Why they're not hitting actual military targets, I mean, that'd be the question that I would have if I was a Ukrainian. Other news coming out of Ukraine, somewhat tied to the war. Zelensky this past week, he let go the Minister of Defense, a young guy named Fedorov. Fedorov is a young guy, 35 years old. He's, EU certified. For whatever reason, Zelensky let him go. And then the EU masters in Brussels, they organized their rent-a-coup armies to get out there on the streets with their signs, people protesting that the Minister of Defense was let go. I have my doubts that's true. I don't think that the people in Ukraine give a rat's ass about who the Minister of Defense is right now. I think they're just looking to get this war ended. So then the question is, who's organizing these protests and what's going to come out of it? There's rumors of a coup potentially happening in Kiev, and Zelensky might be at the end of his rope, because Zelensky's there as well. This young guy, he seems to be the EU favorite. So I guess we'll monitor that situation to see what comes of it. But no, I don't think if they are truly protesting the sacking of a defense minister who was only in power there for 6 months, that to me doesn't make any sense. Like like I said, he was there for 6 months, and nobody had heard of him before that, except for the folks in Brussels, because he's one of theirs. He's a Ukrainian national, but educated in the West, educated in the U.S. in the Ivy League schools. Um, Zelensky is almost out of blow. Yeah, maybe that's when the war ends. Maybe that's when the war ends, is like when his bags of coke run down to, he's got a strategic reserve of cocaine, and he's been drawing that down. And once that goes, tits up, he'll have to sue for peace. But uh, I'm guessing Zelensky has more than enough coke. The guy certainly has enough money for it. So yeah, I guess we're going to see what's going to happen with this whole Fedorov and the protests going on in Ukraine. I think personally, it looks like a bunch of theater. I don't think these people actually give a shit about the guy. I think it's all being orchestrated by the EU. It'll be a Maidan 2.0 or whatever. But again, if that is indeed the plan, uh, I don't know what the end goal is. To what end? You're going to replace Zelensky with Zelensky, maybe, and then what? Like, what is that? How's that going to change the calculus on the front line? It won't. So I'll just leave it at that. And then from there, it is 3:15. Now, unfortunately, it's a bad day to do an open mic because everybody's watching the World Cup right now, or they're over with the internet debaters. I'm not allowed there, apparently. So, yeah, the World Cup itself, I haven't really been following it, though I hear yesterday's game was a lot of fun. That's what I read in the headlines today. 6-4, England took third place. The game that started I think it started just 15 minutes ago, between Spain and Argentina. Obviously cheering for Spain. Like, how could you not? Between the two countries, you've got Spain, who is a champion of ending wars and a champion of ending the genocide in Gaza. And then on the other hand, you got Argentina, who's got a shitbag government who support the Zionists. So for me, I want to see Spain win. Not only win, but win it handily. I guess we'll see. I'm not exactly a soccer guy. I haven't been for a long time. So, but I do know that both teams are very, very good. You're looking at two of the top 5 teams in the world. So it should be a good game. I myself, and I guess if I've gone this long without watching a second of the World Cup, why would I change now, right? Uh, so I could care less about it, but hopefully Spain wins. I think that would be good for Spain. I don't think Spain has ever won the World Cup. I don't believe they have, and if they have, it's been so long that nobody remembers. But I'm pretty sure they haven't. So I think that would be great for Spain, because they do love their football there. It was cool. I was actually in Madrid. My wife and I went to Madrid. This is a long time ago now, probably 15 years ago, maybe. And David Beckham was still playing with Real Madrid, and they had won their league title, or their league trophy, La Liga. They won the championship the night before we arrived, and against whoever they were playing, Barcelona or whoever, Atletico. And so anyway, the next day they had this big parade, And my wife and I just walked into it because we had no idea. We had just hopped off the plane and we were like, all right, cool, let's go figure out what's going on in Madrid. And next thing you know, we're involved in this big street party and a big parade. They had a big parade for the players, and they all came down. Everybody was hammered. Uh, my wife and I were out drinking probably, oh God, for about 15 hours that night. I've never seen her so drunk in my life. Took good advantage of her, I think, that night, and had a good evening. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. We had a good time in Madrid. So yeah, hopefully Spain. If that Real Madrid win is any basis for comparison, if they win the World Cup, the whole country of Spain is going to go crazy, and I think it'll be good for them. So cheers to Spain. I hope they win. I don't know what the score is. I'm not looking at it, not following it, but it just started. So if you are so inclined, by all means, take it, go watch it. Other than that, no other news of the week, really. Like I said, as I started off, the big non-Iran and non-Ukraine news from the week is the Odyssey. It seems like it's been everywhere, which is why I used that for the thumbnail, because it seems to be the biggest movie of the year, and it's gotten lots of good reviews. And like I said, if it bothers you that a black woman is playing Helen of Troy, it's probably not a movie for you. But my question has always been, why do we revert back to these same old, tired stories? Do we really need another Hollywood movie about Troy? Or Greek mythology? Do we really need another Hollywood movie about Elizabeth I or Queen Victoria or any of these? It's like, you know, they complain, we don't have enough Latino representation in Hollywood. We don't have enough black representation in Hollywood. We don't have enough whatever representation in Hollywood. And sure, yeah, I'll agree with that. But the question should be, why isn't Hollywood making movies that would allow casting for those races? There's all sorts of great stories coming out of places like Africa that you could make a movie about, the great tribes, the great kingdoms, like in Mali and Timbuktu. I'm sure that there's a story there to be told. Anytime you've ever seen a movie based in Africa, for example, like Hotel Rwanda, excellent movie, excellent movie. Blood Diamond, excellent movie. So it's not like the stories aren't in places like Africa or South America, somewhere like that. Like create a biopic about Simon Bolivar or someone like that. But we don't make those movies. We go back to the same old Western stories. So, and unfortunately, guys, of the various races, Western stories were bred from white people because they were all white back then, and that's why we've got this lack of diversity. It's not lack of diversity in the casting per se, somewhat it is, but it's also lack of diversity in the product. So broaden your horizons is what I'm saying. Hollywood should be making films of every part of the world, and I think that the world would be better off for it, and we'd be a lot smarter about it. You know, uh, I don't need to watch another film about D-Day, for example. I really don't. I don't need to watch another film about World War II or, like I said, Queen Victoria or whoever. What I wouldn't mind watching is a film about, the Ming Dynasty. That might be cool. Or about, like I said, various African kingdoms, or whatever story you can find. There's lots of stories to be told, but we don't seem to even try. And maybe that's because we're all inherently racist, or maybe Hollywood just likes to stick to what it knows works, because these movies cost so much to make. they don't want to look out for new stories. I don't know, but in any event, I stopped watching Hollywood TV and movies years ago. So I couldn't tell you anything about it. All these actors, I don't know any of them. I really don't. Like Matt Damon. Yeah, I know Matt Damon. But all these actors in these movies, whether it be the Odyssey or anywhere else, I'm just so far outdated now that I couldn't tell you who's popular anymore or who the big celebrities are. So sorry, guys. I guess that's about it for me. If no one else is showing up, yes, Beto Inca, please show up to the cast next week, and hopefully we'll have a few more people on. Love to hear your perspective on whatever. And I guess you guys have a great day. Enjoy a game if that's your thing. I think what I'm going to do before I leave, I'll show you. This is a weed store. So I bought 3 ounces of flour. I bought 2 vapes plus the vape that I'm puffing in, so that's 3. These are pills, pill form of weed. I take those at night to help me sleep. And then these things, I gotta say, these taste just like lemonade. I should have bought more. I only bought 3. But yeah, weed is completely legal in Canada, and I enjoy it quite a lot. Oh, I'm thinking about cutting back because now that I'm retired, I really don't have anything to do or anywhere to go. So I find myself lying in my hammock smoking dope and listening to podcasts all day. Uh, Now that my kids are out of school, it's different. But when they were in school, like last month, yeah, I spent the entire uh, month of June, I think, in my hammock smoking weed. So yeah, I got to do something more productive with my time, I think. But anyway, you guys have a great week, and like I said, go Spain, and I'll wrap it up here, and you guys have a wonderful day. Um, Enjoy the day that you deserve. Cheers. Peace out, guys.